the Night Shift, your safe space for talking about UFOs, UAPs, NHI disclosure, and everything else your friends, family, and coworkers are so sick and tired of hearing you go on and on about. It's the post-September 9th UAP hearing debrief live stream. And as you may have guessed, the thumbnail is not, it's either not my best work or it is my best work. I can't quite tell. But I owe that to Cole Watkins, our graphic designer, who came up with the Alpha and ET salad thing. It was awesome. Xander and I are running on like 2 days with no sleep, and it's been a very long day. It's been a very exciting day. It's been a lot of fun. There's so much to talk about. I'm here with Dan and Xander, and I don't know. I've got a few other people off to the side here who may decide to drop in from time to time, depending. And we're just going to do a post-game kind of breakdown of the day. Why don't we start with this morning, Xander? You got up bright and early. You're up at about 3 o'clock. Is that right?
Yeah, so I was like a kid on Christmas morning, and I needed to wake Daddy up so that we were allowed to go to the Capitol, basically. We'd heard several conflicting things about what the situation was about getting into the hearing, so I didn't want to take any chances. I've flown 3,500 miles to get here. I wasn't gonna risk it, so I was just like, let's just get there way too early. And we got there way too early. Way too early. But not really in the end.
In the end, we got there at 4:45 this morning. We were the 13th and 14th people in line. There were 12 people ahead of us. We signed the little sign-in sheet. It was very organized. It was very respectful. It was a cool group. Everybody was being cool. They were just hanging out, talking, chit-chatting. People were holding each other's spots in line while somebody would go get coffee around the corner. Really great morning, even though we were there early and it was dark and it was chilly and we were all standing outside for a couple hours. It was a lot of fun. And then we get into sort of a line formation, I guess you could call it that, and they open the doors and let us into the Capitol building. We go inside in the visitor center. We're hanging out there for a little while. Maybe we go through security. We're in there for maybe, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes, maybe?
Yeah.
And then we're lined up to go into the hearing room, and they start letting people in. And I see up ahead of us, like Danny Sheehan and his group go in, and then Jaime and his group goes in, and a few other people go in. And Xander and I are walking up to the door to go. We're the next two people in line, and we're walking up to the door. And as we approach the door, the guy closes the door directly in our face and goes, "Sorry, there's no more seats."
I could have cried at that moment, because that's worse than being 10 back in the line.
You were so defeated. You were like, "I flew 3,000 miles."
I said, "Are you serious?" And I think the guy was literally like, "Shit, I've really upset this man."
He goes back inside. And was it the same guy?
Yeah, same guy came
back out about 2 minutes later. He comes back out and he goes, "Okay, you two, come on in." And then we go in, and there's literally 2 chairs left. It's the last 2 by the door. And I get the very last chair. Xander sits next to me, and we got seats.
We've tried to figure out who made that happen. Maybe it was just that guy seeing my sad face.
I think it was either that or it was a Christmas miracle. That's what I.
But we get in there and we see Dan already looking around for us as well.
Dan, you were already there?
Yeah. We were getting messages constantly, just like, "Are you guys in? Are you guys in yet?" And we were like, "No, we're not getting in. Not getting in."
Can you talk about what your morning was like and what you were doing with the crew?
Yeah. I showed up. I was supposed to meet, Jeremy Corbell and all the witnesses at their hotel. I was going to ride over with them, but traffic was a nightmare this morning, so I ended up just meeting right at the what was it called, the visitor center?
Yeah,
is that where it was?
Visitor center, yeah.
And I knew we had seats ready, but just super excited to see you guys there. And Gerb, who's over here now, he was sitting right behind me, and we were like looking around, waiting for you guys to walk in. And you said, I think you told me, like, we're not getting in, or someone said they're not getting in. And him and I were both just incredibly bummed on you guys' behalf. And then to see you in there was almost one of the best parts of the day, because I was so bummed for you both.
I just had this feeling we were going to get in no matter what. I really didn't worry about it. When the guy closed, I was like, "Oh, wow, they really did just stop us at the door and say, like, we're not coming in." But for some reason, I was like, just give it 2 minutes. Something's going to happen. I don't know why I felt that way, but I was so like just pleasantly surprised. I'm like, oh shit, he did it. This is great. We got in, we got seated. The place was packed, and then should we talk about the seating situation, or we should probably?
Absolutely.
I mean, how should we? I don't want to.
Just
You want to just go there?
absolutely.
Okay, so it was how many seats were there set aside? Probably what, 20, maybe?
At the most.
I mean, there were about 100 and change people lined up, give or take. Maybe 90 to 110 people in line total. And we get inside. There's probably 20 seats for people like us to be seated to watch what's going on. And then it was Danny and his group, which was about 4 or 5 people, and Jaime Maussan and his entourage or camera media team, which was probably another 4 or 5 people. So like out of all the seats that were there, half of them, at least half, if not a few more, were taken up by
Maybe
just
more.
those
It
two
might have been
groups.
a little bit more. Yeah.
So then the only other people who were able to get, I mean, there was practically no one from the line that was allowed to be in the room. And that was just really weird.
We were probably in the first 5 people from the genuine line, the actual legit line that was queuing. We were probably among the first 5 people, and we were the last 2. So of the people that actually queued, probably 5 people got in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
All those people who showed up and were sitting there for hours, and there was some interesting stuff going on. There were who else did we see? We saw Chris Bledsoe when we were in line. He was there.
Did he get in? I didn't see him at all. No. He didn't get in the room?
No.
He didn't get in the room?
He didn't get in the room.
I saw Jim Garrison, I saw Danny, I saw who else was there? We saw James Fox, Jeremy.
Leslie Keane was in there?
Leslie Keane was like 10 feet away. She was right over off to the side, and she was just hanging out watching the thing. Grush was there in the back, quiet the whole time, just hanging out. That was super cool.
He's a presence, though, just being in there. Having him there was a presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting just to look back and see him. Did it feel like strange to you guys to be in the room and to be looking at as it's unfolding? You've been there, so you've seen it. But I mean, for you, did it become more real for you?
No.
No? It wasn't any more real?
I thought seeing Grush was actually quite surreal.
Yeah.
Because I didn't notice him walk in. You went, that's Grush. And I was just like, oh shit. And that was like seeing a rock star.
He is.
Seeing Robert Salas was
there?
and we saw him walk in as well, and he was quite rightly being given some good treatment as well, and it was really cool to see him there because he's been going a long time now.
That was just so. It was a good group. Everybody that was there was cool. George Knapp was there, and obviously he was like weirdly to be in the room. He was with all of those people, and to hear George over the speakers, because you hear his voice amplified over the whole like PA system inside the room. It was weirdly comforting. It was so nice. It was like we were joking about it before we went live, but it's like Uncle George is here. It's gonna be okay. He's gonna see us through.
If Xanax had a voice, it would be George Knapp. It's just so soothing and relaxing. You know?
Take a nap with George. George Knapp. The nap file.
Well, George's voice was like the introduction to the Bob Lazar story, and that was my first big deep dive when I was back in the 90s. So he was the original investigative reporter for me. So
guy.
seeing and hearing it, and it sounds exactly the same as it did 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It was very, very nice to
And,
hear.
and Bob Lazar came up today.
And he came up today.
So what should we, just in general impressions of the day, what was your thought, Dan? Like what was your experience of the day? What did you take away from it? Was there a moment that jumped out at you?
Yeah, so last night I felt very, very fortunate. I was able to go to dinner with the witnesses.
Yeah.
And with Jeremy and Matt Brown, and got to just be around those people. And Burleson showed up to the dinner at the end and was just hanging out and picked up the bill. Thank you, Representative Burleson. And he showed us last night the video that we saw today. And it was unbelievable.
That's when I got the text, yeah.
Yeah, and So like today, I was looking forward to seeing people's reaction to that video. That was a highlight for me. And then I think all the witnesses did a fantastic job, all powerful. Dylan was pretty special.
Stole the show.
Yeah. Very special. And you could tell, after his opening statement, he was kind of like his whole body was kind of shaking. He kind of had like
He got teared up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, choked up.
He today seemed like it was very good for him. Yeah, I'm just very thrilled with the day. It was nothing like the last hearing as far as like the general vibe was much better. I think the witnesses overall were better this time.
The whole energy in the building today was way more positive.
Completely.
Like everybody was in a great mood.
Yep.
Like all the people, the Luna and all the Congress people who were there, they were all just like
You're totally right.
in a good state of mind and joking around a little bit and having fun with it, but treating it very seriously. And just it seemed like it was just a great day.
Yeah.
It really went down so nicely. And then when it was all over, we walked outside. We talked to as many people as we could. But the vibe was just excellent. It really was.
Was there a highlight for you guys?
I'm notoriously bad with names. What were the whistleblowers' names again?
Alexander Wiggins, Jeff Nusatelli,
Yeah.
George
Knapp, who you may have heard of, and
what?
Dylan.
So it was, for me, it
Dylan
was,
Borland.
yeah, and I
And
think
some other guy.
the highlight was, I think, the extended applause he got. It was, I don't know if I've seen that before.
It was like 2 seconds from a standing ovation.
That's It would have only taken one person to stand up, and everybody would have stood up and clapped the guy because that felt actually reasonably powerful. I think
Because he ended with a great like call to action.
yeah, and that went on for what felt like 20 seconds longer than a normal applause, and it kept cutting to Luna, who was just there like waiting to speak, and she was just like smirking to herself because she knew like something had just hit home in a really cool way. That and having the same person when they were asked like, how do you? This is a question we've asked basically this entire trip. Like, what do you do when somebody asks you to explain what's going on? How do you introduce somebody to a topic?
Yeah.
And it was Dylan that said, "Look at Bob Lazar. Just watch anything from Bob Lazar." And I was like, okay, given what I believe this person knows, that says something about Bob Lazar to me personally. I might be wrong, but
Yeah, full circle. Well, Bob Lazar and George, being in the room when Bob comes up again, and it's just something. I don't know. It harkens back to an earlier time in ufology when things were simpler. It was just element 115.
Aliens.
Just
the old school.
Aliens, and then even George Knapp today with the alien thing. He's like, alien is just a placeholder word. Like no one really knows. Like nobody. That was interesting. I feel like if anybody would know anything, it would probably be George. He's probably talked to so many people, but I imagine it's pretty hard to nail down what piece of information is actually the truth in the end. We saw that video of the Tic Tac. It was hit by a missile. We saw the aftermath of that. What did you guys think about? Like, let's break down that video for people because that I think really took the day.
What were your initial impressions?
Well, my first thought is it's amazing that we can hit I guess that's a Tic Tac, right? Or it's a UAP. We don't know what it is.
I don't know what the shape was. I haven't watched the second half when you still see the thing spiraling from the further out.
Yeah.
It looked a little cigarish, maybe to me.
I guess.
Well, I got it right here.
something that something that might not have actually been picked up on the microphones on the live stream, but there was an audible gasp when that thing was hit.
Yeah.
The audience was like,
Well, the room went
very
dead
bated
quiet.
breath.
The room was
probably.
silent. You could hear a pin drop.
I mean, let us know in the chat if that was audible, because I thought that was like really cool hearing everybody go like all of a sudden. So we're watching the video quickly right now.
I was in.
wide, and then like you can kind of see it there. It's still kind of like spinning and changing shape or something.
This thing
right?
is hauling ass, and then this Hellfire missile hits it dead on, and then bonks, like it's like boing, and it just sort of
Like brushes it off.
brushes it off like a video game or something, and then this cloud of what appeared to me to be debris from the missile, it seemed like, got caught up in the wake of this thing and carried off with it. But later you kind of explained that more to me and said those came out of the craft.
It's speculated highly that those things came out of the craft.
Out of the craft.
And then kind of shadowed it or something, and then possibly was reabsorbed into it later on.
If those were a countermeasure, they didn't stop I mean, maybe they did stop it, but it still struck the object, which is interesting. I just want to know, what was the decision chain where it, like, that ended with, okay, fire on that thing? Who gave that order? Under what conditions was that order given? Is that our normal posture towards like UAPs everywhere all the time, or like is there a procedure for when and where and how you can fire on these things, or is it up to the commander at the time? It just seems like that's an obvious question.
I could be wrong.
Who fired that missile and who gave the order?
And maybe Gerb can pop on at some point and go into this more, but I feel like they have a chance. Whenever they have a chance to shoot at it, I feel like they kind of do.
They kind of do.
For whatever reason. Which
That's
seems
really
stupid,
interesting.
but I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
I've been busy doing other.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm like trying to like.
You're on night
organize-
shift live. Yeah.
So what was the question? What was the question?
Like, what were your initial impressions of that video, and what do you think? Why would they fire upon it?
I don't know why they'd fire upon it, but it was the tumble that made it look far more realistic to me. And then initially when I was watching that, I was like, okay, potentially it could be a point of view sort of optical illusion, a little bit like a parallax, but then it zoomed out and the thing just kept going. It didn't fall into the ocean it
didn't even slow down.
It just kept going. It tumbled a little bit, and then I've since seen there's somebody slowed it down on Reddit and sort of like done a back and forth of those three orbs. They do not behave at all, just like trailing debris.
Are they?
They're like
swirling
move.
the-
They're not.
They have purpose.
They're like moving. I guess if the wind was strong, then they could be like darting around like the back of it for some reason because of the wind, but it didn't seem, when you see like videos of like meteorites and they're like re-entering the atmosphere and that you get those trailing bits behind it.
Yeah.
That's not what those look like at all.
At all.
They look like they are moving. They're making intentional movements behind the object. They're not just trailing the object. They're like they're dotting around behind the object.
So I guess it's speculated that those objects came from that craft, but it's possible that they could be something else from the missile. But either way, the missile struck this object, bounced off, and then it just continued on. There was a video a few years ago. I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was I don't know if it was FLIR, but it was 3 objects in the sky, and it looked like they were dropping something. They had like sparks coming off of the bottom, and then they hit them with a missile, and it has zero effect. Have you seen this video? The missile explodes, and then these things are still in the sky. They don't move. You know what I'm talking
We
about?
shared it, I think, on Night Shift.
Yeah, it was a while ago though.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that.
Yeah.
I inquired about that exact video today.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoever showed it to, I said, have you familiar with this one? They said, yes, Afghanistan. I said, what are your thoughts? And the person said, that seems legitimate. It looks legitimate. I've seen it before, and we've seen many other videos like that.
Wow.
So I think that one is real.
Could be real.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
What's up?
Oh, hey, Brian. What do you guys think in the chat? Let us know. What was your take on today's hearing? If you watched it, let us know. And while you're in here, hit that like button. We're only at, is that right? 57 likes? Come on, guys. That's terrible. We can do better than that.
Traveled all the way here.
Xander flew 3,000 miles. He left his family. He's here
Forever.
He's running away to start a new life on Stephen Greer's compound. And I just think that
Greer
you
was in
guys
town last night,
owe
by the
him
way.
some likes.
Greer was in town.
Greer was in town, and we didn't see him at the hearing, but did you see him at the thing you were at?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
You didn't see him?
Nope.
So he's here somewhere.
I didn't go to that thing that he was at.
Oh, okay. But he was there with Jaime Maussan, right? I saw him in a picture together.
Can we talk about Jaime for a minute?
Go right ahead.
I'm annoyed.
Talk about you're the Noid.
I'm annoyed with him.
Okay. Avoid the Noid.
I don't mind starting a war with him. He was sitting right behind me.
He's powerful.
I don't give a shit.
Oh, here we go.
It was
Dan
so
has
rude.
declared war on
Yeah,
Jaime.
come at me, bitch. No, but honestly, he was behind me and he was like sleeping for more than half of the hearing. He was snoring behind my head.
This motherfucker took up 6 seats.
That's what I'm saying. So at one point, I've never met the man in my life. I reached behind, I hit him in the leg to wake him up.
Oh, that's what I
And he
saw.
kind
That
of snorted himself back awake and then went back to sleep. He's like my grandfather. It was just, it felt, I will say it felt disrespectful to the witnesses that were there, putting themselves out there to do that. And it felt really rude to people outside that waited in line for hours that couldn't get in, that would have given anything to be in that room, and he was sleeping. It just bothered me. That's all. That's all I want to say.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. As the hearing was going on, I didn't realize that that's what had taken place. I just thought, I assumed, I was like, oh, Danny went in, and Jaime went in. I guess they have a thing. They must be, part of whatever's going on here. They've got camera crews. And then it was only later that I realized that was the scam. Bring the camera crew and they'll let you in anywhere. It's like carry a ladder and you can pretty much get into.
That's kind of it.
You can get into the Pentagon. Just
And
carry-
he's a name. I mean, Jaime is a name in this world. So I get that he can kind of get himself in. Danny as well.
Yeah, but they denied press passes to everyone. Like almost every single person who applied for a press pass did not get one. They got a rejection email, and and then all those folks were standing outside. They were really pissed, and I understand why.
That's who's also disrespectful too.
What's that?
All of the people that were waiting outside, some of whom had been there since before us.
That's, I mean, that's the thing that bothers me most, is that people would have given anything. If you guys didn't get in and you were watching and saw Jaime sleeping, what the hell, man?
I stormed the Capitol.
Well, you would think they would.
That's gone great in the past.
You would. I guess I just would assume that someone would go over, like an aide or something, and be like, "Sir, if you can't be awake and pay attention, then you have to leave and give your seat to someone else."
Right,
Like,
right.
This is a working hearing. Like, we're here to do work.
And he wasn't the only one asleep.
Who was-
There was one other person asleep. We don't need to. It's not anybody we know. It's just that it was clear that this was sort of. Seemed to be entertainment for a few people that were in there, and there was one other person that had. They'd come in as two, and one of them was asleep, and I was, and it was apparent to me that they were also people that hadn't queued to actually get in the first place.
Yeah, there was such an orderly process up until the moment they opened the doors, and then it was just like whoever ran in first got their seat, and whoever was standing behind was left behind. That was really interesting. In terms of witness testimony and the actual questions that were asked today, was there any particular person that blew your mind or any particular statement that stands out to you? I felt like the questioning from everybody seemed to be pretty good. Did you have any?
For me, I think the star of the day was kind of Burleson. I think he did a great job.
He's great.
Luna did a good job.
Luna was great.
Moskowitz, I thought, did a great job at the last hearing. I was a little less impressed with him this time around. He was still good, but just
Burleson was great.
Burleson was probably the one for me.
Because at the end, he had that whole Braveheart speech where he's like, we got to get the money. We have to chase down the money. And what George Knapp was like, unleash the dogs. Go after the money. That's how you're going to get to these people.
Who was the former Navy guy who was talking to Wiggins? They were like war buddies almost.
Oh, the other representative with
name?
the beard.
Yeah, he was really cool.
He was a gunner's mate.
The one who said, growing up, I did not believe in UFOs. I don't believe in aliens. It seems like science fiction or whatever. He goes, but now hearing your guys' testimony today and paying attention, I believe now.
Yeah.
That was a cool moment.
That was a cool moment. It's cool to see it taken so seriously and to be in the room and to realize that this is the thing. It gets real in a way that it hasn't been real before. And I think for people who are playing the home game and watching as this all unfolds, sometimes some aspects of the UFO world can be a little fantastical, and it can cause you to doubt, like, is this really for real, or am I just wasting my time? But when you're in the room and you're listening to these questions being asked, and you're watching the people answer them, and you're in there and you can see it and you can feel the energy, it is serious. And I actually had a couple of moments over the last 24 hours where the seriousness of the issue hit me in a way that it's never hit me before, and I actually felt the heaviness of it. And I think for a brief second, it dawned on me how what would have to be, what kind of reality we'd have to be in that would be so dark that they wouldn't talk about it anymore. There's a point where you learn enough about the topic, you get close enough to the source or to the center of it, that a lot of people just back away and they go, you know what, I don't want to. I think I'm getting that now.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't know if I've gotten it yet, but I think I'm getting it. I think it's starting to sink in for me in a way that it hasn't before. Well, because before I was like you guys with Bob Lazar's story. It's academic, but it's also like speculative fiction. You're like, there's a spaceship. It's got stuff inside. You know, we've cut it open. We know how some of it works. But today we're talking about what was the gentleman's name? I'm spacing on his name again. He's talking about they ruined my whole fucking life. I can't work. I'm on unemployment. In 2 weeks, I have no dollars.
Dylan Borland.
I have no money in my bank account. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't be employed anywhere. I can't work. And he cried during his first 15 minutes that he was talking. He got teary-eyed. Yeah. And I'm like, these are real people, real lives. This is real shit, and it's hard to understand. You have to be close to someone who's really expressing that level of emotion to appreciate it, I think. And I think it hit me. I don't know.
And he's someone who is being fucked with for doing his job for his country, and apparently doing it very well, and being exposed to things which then he gets punished for following up on. It's a super unfair. I mean, it's very David Grush-like, kind of very similar to the Grush story.
Yeah. And
it's kind of infuriating to hear about, because we're supposed to, like, in this country, you celebrate your veterans, and if you are in the military, you're a hero, and you got to protect those people. But that's the opposite of what's going on with people like this.
Yeah, that's just propaganda messaging, I think. And it's like, it's used when it's convenient, and when it's not convenient, they throw all that veterans are sacred and we love our warrior stuff. That just goes right out the window because it's not convenient anymore.
Yep.
For the purpose of what they're trying to do. And it's really
until 4th of July or Memorial Day or whatever.
And then on 4th of July, it's like, we love our heroes, we respect your service. And it's like, when it's convenient, it's convenient. I was very struck by how no one fucking knows how much money has been spent on any of this shit, and no one knows where it's like. There is zero information available to Congress.
Bye, guys.
As to like.
We got some guys going up to the bed, going up to the bedroom right now. Sorry, we're so boring.
The amount of stuff that gets done in the dark by people who are completely unaccountable to anyone, who exist mostly outside of the chain of command. They're almost like Colonel Kurtz, but there's 100,000 Colonel Kurtzes running around with UFO programs and doing their own shit. That kind of blew my mind. It never occurred to me to look at the reverse. Like, presidential administrations come and go, but there are bureaucracies within the military and defense community that are there for decades. And some of these people just, they're the ones who are in charge. It's not the guy who's there for 4 years. It's the other guys. They're the ones who sit him down and say, okay, now welcome to the White House. Let me tell you how it's going to go.
Right.
Like the John Perkins economic hitman speech.
I'm not familiar.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman is a book by a guy named John Perkins, and he was recruited out of an Ivy League school. He was like the top 1% of his law class, and he was recruited by a corporation. It was a group of, sort of like a front corporation for another group, and his job was to go around the world and meet with governments in other countries and basically like make deals. Like he's the guy who gives you the talk. Like he's the guy who shows you the videotape of Kennedy's assassination from an angle no one's ever seen before. You know, he's that guy.
Right.
And he would say, like, we would go in and then we would arrange enormous loans of billions of dollars to a country, and then we would secure their natural resources as like collateral on the loan.
Right.
And then we would just come in and take all their shit.
Someone's noticed Gerb like walking upstairs and is like, is he the house butler?
Is that
Cheese
what,
and crackers, please.
To be fair, we've got like maybe 25 minutes left. Should we see if Gerb wants to say something? And then I think Pavel is actually going to join us.
yeah,
for a
let's see
little while.
if
So let's see if Gerb is around. He might be having a secret conversation.
Let me ask you this, since you're an American, and our Brit is leaving. I remember the first time I went to the hearing in November, being in that room and like seeing my government at work. It felt powerful and cool that we're able to do that here. Did you
I felt that.
You did?
Yeah,
It's a
I was
very
kind
cool
of like
thing.
because we're so used to it being a dysfunctional shit show all the time, and like on the news, the perception is like these clowns can't get it together enough to agree on anything.
Yeah.
And then you're in the room, and more or less they did work pretty well together as a unit. Asking, there was a 10-minute diversion on some political stuff that wasn't really relevant. But in terms of like watching people come together for the purpose of understanding what the fuck is going on and trying to get to the bottom of it, I felt very satisfied. It's
pretty neat, right?
It was neat.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And I've been to DC, but it's been many years, and so coming back just to be here, you do feel, I mean, I notice it. It's like the heaviness of, oh wow, it's all in the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
That was very cool.
Here he is, guys. We gotta tag him in, dude.
Okay, where's
Dan?
No, get in
I'll
here.
tag out for a
No,
minute.
get in here.
All right,
How many
Gerb.
mics do we have?
Gerb is tagging
Pass
in.
him around. It's fine.
All right. Take a seat.
All right, guys, it's UAP Gerb in the house.
A live in-person appearance on the night shift. You guys got a good setup here, man.
This is our
Well,
guerrilla.
listen,
style
everybody. Everybody connected with the night shift channel is pretty awesome. Got to spend some time with Xander, Clint, Dan, great guys. And I only have one bone to pick, and it's the fact you didn't bring me a TR3B shirt.
setup. Oh, I'll get you one. I know a guy.
That's if you guys have seen this merch, this is awesome. But anyways,
That's Cole Watkins, by the way, our graphic designer.
Yeah, Xander was
Did
talking about Cole as well.
TR3B,
what were you guys talking about?
UFOs and stuff. By the way, guys, I have to tell you, like, having hung out now, we've been in a group chat for some time, and I've exchanged like messages with Gerb, but this is the first time I've actually hung out with this guy for any length of time, and I will tell you categorically, as a matter of just fact, talking to this dude is like talking to Fox Mulder. It is like sitting down. I feel like I'm in the X-Files. He will deliver. I'll ask a simple question like, "So what do you think's going on?" And it's a 22-minute monologue, and it's full of detail, and you can't look away. It all makes sense, and at the end, I'm like, "Fuck, that's how they did
Hey
it."
man, these are great guys. We were so the day started. I know Xander and Clint were talking about not getting in. Dan and I were stressing bad that they weren't going to be able to get in because we thought there would be plenty of seats. But then it kind of turned into a crap show with the media. I know you guys talked about that. But at the last second, by serendipity's sake, you guys made it in. What is your chat saying about the quality of the hearings? What are people?
They're actually really encouraged by it. Really encouraged by it all. And I think they want to hear more from Borland.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
If there's any frustration, it's the fact that he's, for obvious reason, having to say, I need to answer it in a skiff.
Yeah.
But the important thing that you pointed out is that he's being very specific with his wording when he's answering that. So maybe you could talk about that for a second.
Yeah, I think one of the important things about Borland is he's not just saying, I can only talk about this in a skiff, but also saying, I don't know if I'm legally allowed to give you these disclosures.
Right.
And that opens up a whole can of questions of, okay, it makes sense. This guy can't discuss class information out of a skiff. In front of the American public, you can't break guidelines around SAPs and USAPs. But why couldn't congressmen or congresspeople or cleared individuals take this testimony inside a hearing? And that can start to dive into the complexities of USAP. And because Borland discussed he was part of a multi-agency SAP.
Yeah.
Multi-agency SAP isn't the most common thing. But his testimony was also very interesting. If you guys hear about the triangle that he observed over Langley out of the NASA base, because so many of the characteristics of that triangle were were characteristics you'd associate with non-human craft, right? Like the glowing kind of plasma lava-ish field that you might associate with like a craft sighting that James Fox talks about often. Or like with Jonathan Weygandt of a flowing field around the craft. But this clearly was a triangle that departed a human flight line, took off, hovered 100 feet in the air, and took off further. So that begs the question then, is this a reproduction vehicle or is this humans operating non-human technology?
Well, what do you think?
I feel like you know this answer.
You answer our questions.
I don't know. I'd probably err on the side of reproduction vehicles or replicated vehicles. I mean, I can't even begin to understand the logistics of if such a craft is made for a 4-foot tall type gray being. How a human test pilot out of the Edwards 412 test wing or out of the Navy test pilot school out in Pax River would test one of these puppies.
Right. That's an interesting point. In terms of whether it's an ARV or if it's a craft that we're just operating, I mean, I feel like the triangular craft stories go back. What is the first reported sighting of a triangular craft that would resemble anything we think of when we
probably
like the TR-3B?
70s. Actually, if you're going by actual date, it'd be the Psalm 101 in 1954, which depicts like a perfect, not TR-3B, but a triangle with 3 lights, one at each vertex, and a big red strobing light in the middle. That's in the Psalm 101, but we can't really count that as that's more conjecture.
That we don't know if that manual is legit.
Right, and we don't know when it was created. Right, that could have been written in 1992.
Yeah.
Before it was delivered, I think around 94. I'm just trying to remember the Psalm 101.
I was struck by the way, was it Burleson, I think, at the end when he was like, he kind of started to explain how there are like faceless, unnamed staffers that are just sort of in the mix that make decisions on which thing moves forward and which thing doesn't move forward. And the members of Congress are kind of in the dark. A lot of times shit will just get stonewalled and no one knows why, but it's like a staffer somewhere holding it up or diverting it.
I'm glad he talked about that because sometimes the whatever it is, whatever the piece of written documentation is, when it's passed along from a congressman, maybe to go up to committee or something, some of the times that'll be returned with entries completely redacted or neutered by a staffer, which is unacceptable.
Right. So who are these staffers? Like at what level, what level staffer would have authorization to do something like that? Or is he saying that there are people who are like agents that are put there in the role of a staffer to intercept legislation and then make changes to it?
I don't know for sure, but that could very well be.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Like there are people who are just in positions that can spot things and you know, I don't know, shuffle things around. I don't know. That was the impression I got, but maybe I'm misreading or misunderstanding what he said.
And so what Borland talked about the triangle, that's not an isolated case.
Yeah.
Of a triangle at an airfield. You know, I'd be remiss not to remind of a close friend of mine, Army Public Affairs. He was at Groom Lake, he was at Groom Lake. This was early 2010s. He is at Groom Lake for just, you know, standard missions. He is with a couple Air Force colonels because Groom Lake is run by Edwards 412 Test Wing. The flight line is cleared for a class flight because he's with some full bird colonels. They say, hey, come on, watch this. What does he see on the flight line but like a large, I think he said about 100 foot, 70 to 100 foot equilateral triangle. Just takes off vertically, makes no noise. No sort of momentum or inertia, doesn't disturb any of the dust around it, which is the biggest thing.
Didn't he say when he witnessed the triangle, his phone died? Was that
for about 15 minutes.
his phone, the battery went completely dead, or his phone got really hot? And then
He said it got really hot.
and then it shut off.
And as the craft rose, he felt sort of a static charge on himself.
And smelled ozone.
Yeah, I don't have the smarts to know what sort of effect that might be, but you guys
that
probably got some
sound-
whiz kids. In it.
That sounds like electrogravitics. That sounds like high voltage, I don't know, creating ozone. The ozone smell was just interesting. Because some people, when they talk about UAPs, I used to hear this more, but I don't hear it as much anymore. Contactees or people who have sightings up close, they're like, it sounded, and you've probably heard this a lot, they said it sounds like an electrical transformer box. It's like this humming.
like a guitar amp.
Standing, a guitar amp that's just humming. Do you ever, in your research in any of the projects that you've worked on, do you ever come across that particular detail and get any answers as to what that
Of like the strobing amp.
the sound, the sound.
No,
'cause, Wygant
Yeah,
said the same thing.
Yeah, what was interesting about Wygant is he could feel and hear that kind of guitar amp sound pulsing as the craft like seemed to power down.
Right.
Which is really, which is really interesting.
For those people who don't remember, Jonathan Wygant was a Lance Corporal Marine who was stationed in Peru. Was it Peru? I think it was Peru.
Yeah, for Operation Laser Strike in 1997, end of March. Yeah, about end of March, early April.
And he was attached to a group that was they
MAC
were.
G28, Marine Air Control Group 28.
Rain again.
It's like I'm telling you,
Doing
this
perimeter security.
this guy. They shoot this thing down. His guess was that it was a missile that got close to it and then exploded in the air.
Yes, but he thinks it might have been Peruvian forces because there was no mission log of shooting. He thinks.
But the Peruvians were working with the Americans for drug interdiction. at
Yes,
that time.
because the Peruvians were. There was a ton of anti-narco operations at the time, but Wygant guesses because of the destruction pattern on the craft, it was a Hawk MIM-23
Hawk.
missile system. And at the time, the USMC had been phasing out that system. They were the last to do it of all U.S. Armed forces. I think that they were finally phased out in 2002. But the Peruvian forces were still using Hawk batteries.
Interesting. Wow, look at the detail, guys. Can you believe this? This is what it's like. So that was an interesting detail.
Yeah.
The hum, the phone thing, the smell of ozone. I think I am on the side of we have got this thing more or less figured out. Like we were talking earlier about the flux liner and the history of that whole thing, how they looked old even back then.
Yeah, lead paint, F4 seats.
Right, it kind of bolted
And they
together.
have the submarine doors as well.
Yeah, the latch doors. And then, of course, Air Force Captain Harvey Williams actually captured a photograph of one over Provo, Utah in '65.
Of one of the.
Have you not
flux
seen
liner?
that photo?
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
I'm sure. we
Harvey
tried it
Williams,
before.
Provo, Utah, 1965.
Oh wow! Look this up. Harvey.
looks-
I tell you, I tracked down the 6 degrees of freedom controller they used.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
The
it's also
handle
discussed a ton in Secret Machines as well. That's the full control system for the TR-3B. What's it called in Secret Machines? Black Manta or Locust?
Locust.
Yeah, Locust.
Referred to as the locust.
Yeah, the Locust.
But, yeah.
Well, that's a man, Harvey Williams. I had the same trouble on Danny Jones. We found that same guy when we were looking up the photo.
Harvey Williams, Provo, Utah UFO.
Yeah, try that.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the
it is.
Yeah. Do you see the more? It's less kind of circular structure. It's
I wish I could show this on the screen right now.
a little bit
Wow.
more conical.
It looks
Do you
like a
see that?
Devo hat.
Yeah. Do you see the synthetic vision system on the outside? What
Yeah.
appears to be larger acrylic bubbles that would have gotten smaller with time.
Yeah. Those are overlapping cameras.
Yeah.
The 360, like a
This
GoPro
is it, right?
Yeah.
360 camera. But they were doing this back in the 70s.
65.
65.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers.
66 maybe.
If they had the flux liner in the mid 60s, then I am all on board with Secret Space Program. I'm all on board with the TR-3B. Like I feel like there's your answer. There seemed to be this idea towards the end. George Knapp said something where he was like, "I don't think they've made as much
Yeah.
progress as they say they have," or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, and that was just interesting because the crowd didn't seem to feel that way. People I talked to were like, no.
Yeah, probably somewhat mixed opinions, but I think that it's definitely going to be a bit more controversial statement, especially because that's also the statement guys like Eric Davis
Right.
kind of cling to, which I disagree with fully.
Yeah, well, what is your take? I mean, you dive into this pretty deeply. So, what is your sense of the state of play in terms of what we know and don't know about the technology right now?
So, of course, I'm a big proponent of successful ARV implementation, not so for like full armed forces or huge use, probably still for ISR purposes and
Okay.
reconnaissance purposes, and these are the big guns you pull out only for extremely strategic special missions. You don't use a nuke to solve a border dispute. But George Knapp says that he doesn't think, and I'm glad he used that caveat. He said, I don't think we've made much progress cracking the technology. And I wager that's probably from the testimony of both Bob Lazar and Al O'Donnell. You remember how he talked about Al O'Donnell's president or director of special projects at EG&G?
Yes.
And how Al O'Donnell, first of all, told Annie Jacobson on his deathbed that Roswell was just I think it was Russian dwarves. So
That's where she got that from.
Yeah, but Al O'Donnell, many decades before that, told George Knapp that there was a crashed UFO and non-human occupants that were taken to various facilities that ended up near like Los Alamos, Area 51.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But George Knapp here revealed today that that wreckage was most likely Kingman. And I also believe with pretty high confidence Kingman was pieces of Kingman, or possibly the whole hull of Kingman, or possibly a bulkhead of Kingman was also the materials in the 2009 and 2011 proposed and failed Kona Blue and Lockheed Martin to OSAP materials transfer. So if we're working with that same hull here that George Knapp is familiar with, Bob Lazar, and the sports model, and then the Kingman wreckage, which it almost seemed impossible to glean information from, I do think that would be his point of view. Eric Davis, that's a completely different story.
Eric Davis is a question mark for me, but to the extent that Bob said what he said, I mean, Bob, in his story, as far as I understand, they had removed the reactor from at least one craft. They had tried to cut one open, it exploded and killed whoever was working on it. But they had figured out, that tells me that they had figured out how to cut the material. They can at least cut through the material that the craft is made of and carve out a piece of it and take it elsewhere. Like, right, it's all one piece more or less, so you have to cut it free.
Yeah.
That's interesting. They apparently, if you take Mark McCandlish at his word, we have figured out the gravity problem. Whether that's electrogravitics and that's T. Townsend Brown stuff.
Not Mark, primary witness Brad.
Primary witness Brad. But
Yeah.
Mark does such a
Mark
great
says
job
the same.
saying
Yeah.
it.
He's more eloquent.
I just love. He's such a nerd, and he's like, and it's so cool. And I tried to figure out how they did it, and then I drew this.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, he was a true hero, and that was we need him.
So Eric Davis's line though, like let's say that ARV do exist,
Yeah.
which I'm very confident. I'm not going to say I can tell you as a fact, but I'm very confident. The reasons for him saying no, if we're giving him the benefit of the doubt first, it could be a program protection strategy by Jim Ryder, from the VP of Lockheed, who tried to facilitate the transfer that was shot down by Gaffney. For various special interests of Lockheed Martin, you don't give away the whole oyster. He could have been read into only a select number of SAPs and USAPs for the OSAP Kona Blue material transfer. So you wouldn't be read into the UFO portfolio for such a transfer of one piece of bulkhead or one piece of materials from one specific crash. You'd be read into peripheral programs just surrounding that information.
Okay.
So those programs could have just been dealing with the Kingman crash, and that factors in George Knapp and materials that are hard to glean any sort of exploitation from. And then if we're not giving him the benefit of the doubt, I don't know, maybe he worked in such programs and is doing program protection himself.
Oh, okay. All right.
So there's numerous possibilities there. I kind of lean towards the last now, but
That's true.
that's what I kind of lean towards. I think a lot of the OSAP crew probably has a little bit more involvement in legacy operations than they have said thus far. But
What was your take on George Knapp? Gave us a little bit more clarity on what happened with the former Soviet Union when
Thread
he
3.
went over there. Thread 3 is what it was called. Was that the directive among all the Soviet forces to?
it was like the top-down umbrella program.
It was like their Immaculate Constellation.
Kind of, because Immaculate Constellation is not a UFO legacy program. It's a reactionary SAP to legacy programs. Because remember, IMCOM is sent to study.
Let me just write this down real quick.
I feel like I'm taking your college course.
IMCOM's to study NHI craft and reproduction vehicles, right?
Okay.
So IMCOM was created in 2017, likely at the behest of some sort of senator who just got interested in the subject to try and get an estimate of the situation using pretty sophisticated intelligence tools.
Okay.
That's why reproduction vehicles are listed there. My mind is drawn to the Indo-PACOM incident over, where was it? Kamchatka? Yeah, there we go.
This is Gerb's second example.
Yeah,
Gerb's brain is so full, he has a second one over here.
this guy's a genius.
We're going to have, can I use your name?
Yeah, absolutely. My
We're
name
gonna
is
have-
so common, no one will ever know who I am.
So we have a specific. Can I borrow this?
Yeah.
So we have a specific question that we'll get to in a second, and I've had it highlighted for ages. So apologies, we've ignored so much of the chat since then. But there's a specific question that I've seen several times everywhere since the hearing, which is why didn't the Hellfire explode? and I'm not the person to answer
that's
that.
Rob,
but
yeah.
we'll get him. We'll get Rob to explain that in a second. But if you can remember what fort you were on,
Yeah, we were on Thread 3.
you remember.
Yeah,
of
Thread 3.
course.
Thread 3 was like the umbrella organization. Within that, there's like Russia's own Project Blue Book, even data linking to Russia's own material exploitation programs, which is known by a code word number. Rob, do you know the number on hand? It's like 7273.
What code word? Number?
The Thread 3 reverse engineering code word.
It's like 736.
Yeah, something like that. It's a string of numbers. I think it's like 5 or 6 numbers. But in the Thread 3 docs, there's essentially documents on Russian sightings, attempts to chase down craft, attempts to build their own saucer, similar to like an Avrocar thing, not like a full flying saucer based on anti-gravity. But
in just broad terms, from your own understanding of where the research has gone, I mean, what is your sense of where the Russians may be? Or do you have a sense of where the Russians may be?
with that Indo-PACOM sighting, that reproduction vehicle in Matt Brown's testimony is either Chinese or Russian.
That's either Chinese or Russian.
And that's no bueno.
I would go. My vote is Chinese. The Russians. So the Russians have a head start on the Chinese, but the Chinese seem to have the better technical base to figure out.
Yeah. And George talked about that too, right? Like Chinese recruits their best engineers, best scientists, says, because it's a communist regime, hey, you are working on this program. This is what you are doing.
Are you of the mind that Ning Li was recruited to go work in China, or she just went dark over here?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't. Maybe it went dark over here, but I don't know enough to make.
I know a lot about that. Sorry.
I'm curious.
Very recently in Huntsville, so like. Get on mic.
Get up here.
Yeah, come on, Rob, get in.
Tag in.
Yeah, so I was
I'll
really.
tag out.
My name's Rob Jones, by the way, to everybody
It's
here on the
very
stream. I was very recently at SCU in Huntsville with a couple of folks who have been close to the reporter who handled that.
Okay.
After some long form discussions that we had with them, it's my understanding that Ning Li was approached at some point by operatives of the PRC.
Okay.
And my understanding is that she may have refused to go back.
Okay.
And that may have resulted in her being taken off the table.
Interesting. Taken off the table.
That's a nice way of saying killed.
Okay. Taken off the game board.
Yeah. You got to take the piece off the table.
That sounds so.
Well, when the
That
enemy
sounds
has
so-
a really good asset, you should remove it from
so
the game board.
Surgical. Wow. So I have to ask you about Amy Eskridge then.
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay. I
Sorry.
understand.
I know a lot of details about that, and I just prefer not to talk about it for
fair.
the victim's sake and other individuals involved.
It's a hot potato.
It is, and I know a little bit too much, and I wish I didn't.
Okay. Understood. And message received.
I would just urge anybody who's interested in Amy's story to look into it.
Yeah.
And draw your own conclusions.
Yeah. I think we can leave it there.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I feel nervous every time I ask the question, but I also feel compelled to ask.
No, I mean, it's a question that
don't
should
like
be
them.
asked. I'm just not comfortable sharing what I know because I feel like it's borderline like telling about really personal details about somebody's life, and I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if what I know is fully accurate to what she experienced, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
I would just direct people to her interview, and you can watch it. And
and just understand that she was under a lot of stress.
as we all have been from many time to time and throughout
Everybody
our
goes
lives,
through that. So
which happens. So okay. So anything else at the hearing strike you personally? Like what did
well, I
you?
mean, like everybody else mentioned, Dylan Borland's testimony brought me to tears. I mean, I've been in the military. I was a nuclear propulsion engineer in the Navy. I very much understand the stress that he's gone through, and feeling like your command doesn't care about you, or that no one else cares about you, that you're being systematically like rolled out and no one gives a shit. It's got to be the most horrible feeling in the world when you signed up. All you wanted to do was serve your country and do awesome things that helped people.
Yeah.
You know, whether that plays out the right way in the way that everybody envisions it before they go in, usually not always. But at the same
motivation
time,
is pure.
yeah, absolutely. It's a very pure motivation.
And these
it's-
are good people. These are people who are trained to do a hard job, and they do it well, and they do it for years.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then it's like, yeah, then they're just
And
taken off the board.
and not only that are they good people, but they're people that are held to a higher standard than everyone else.
Right.
They're on what's called a personal reliability program, or PRP.
Okay.
Anybody who holds like a TS or a TSSCI clearance in a lot of cases has to be on a PRP. You have very, very strict rules about what you're even allowed to be perceived doing in public. You can't drink in public.
Can't drink in public.
There's all kinds of things that you are not allowed to do. You're subject to random polygraphs and any number of other things. And for somebody who's already committed to go through that, to experience that, and has repeatedly committed to that, and then gets, for lack of a better word, shit on for that process, it's horrible. It's horrible to see, and it's horrible to know that Dylan's not the only one.
Yeah.
And it really, you guys were right. It was very close to a standing ovation for him, and I think it was very well deserved.
What would be, I mean, have you ever given any thought to what, we talked a little bit, we in broad terms, everyone at the hearing was thinking about it because it was a matter of discussion, whistleblower protection today. We need a program, we need a way to protect these whistleblowers because they come forward at great, tremendous personal risk, and oftentimes they don't have the financial resources to see it through. It's just you literally just run out of money. You lose your job, and then it's like, well, do you want to lose your house next? So what could be put in place, or what should be put in place?
I can tell you right now.
Go ahead.
What I think is this. There should be a program in place to provide private paid security of the whistleblower's choice to that whistleblower, of which many of these whistleblowers are connected in a network where they have access to people who do that, who are trusted individuals. So provide them the funding to be able to fund the correct type of, support for them for protection physically, but then also give them 100% DoD disability payment.
So no matter what, they're always going to be okay.
Yes. Now, what 100% DoD disability payment means is that's not the same as 100% of whatever your pay was in the
Right.
DoD. The DoD has a disability scale that scales a certain amount per month that you would receive. The maximum of which is somewhere around like the $2.8 thousand mark, if I'm correct, which is, hey, that's you can live on that. You can do things with that, and also you don't have to do anything, so you can go get side jobs and you can support your family if that's not enough.
It's a safety net of some kind.
It is a safety net that also comes with health care and a number of other benefits that are wonderful. If you could combine those two things, plus the ability to protect their disclosures, and you would probably need some sort of law or an executive order or something like that in order to provide that. But if you could do that, that would provide a clear path for not only these individuals to give their testimony, but to feel safe and to be able to still provide for their families. And this would be a drop in the bucket in the federal budget.
You
it
could pay for it with
that.
the savings from the cost overruns that you discover and all the
Careful,
weird,
Elon tried to use that logic.
Well, Elon wasn't serious, but you'd have to be serious. Like, he doesn't actually give a shit.
Right.
But he had a different purpose in mind. But I agree. There needs to be some kind of system in place. But what you're describing sounds kind of like a witness protection program thing.
Right.
Like, we're going to pull you out. We're going to
Right.
isolate you. We're going to provide security outside of the military. This is all going to be, and then we're going to separate you from everybody else, and we're going to work on
security
this guy.
that's whoever you feel safe with too, which is important.
Interesting.
Because there's a lot of private security in the United States. For the folks that aren't here, there are a lot of companies that are former special operators and stuff like that, guys that are good dudes that are out there that provide that kind of service. So it's there.
Do you think that anything like that will ever happen?
I do.
Do you think they're actually going to go
After
forward?
today, I do. Yeah.
What gave you that idea, that sense?
A lot of things.
Yeah.
I would say that the primary thing that pleased me the most about the hearing was the level of bipartisanship between the ranking member Crockett and Anna Luna. Just based on some comments that I've heard, I'm very, very confident that this task force, at the very least, doesn't suffer some of the same problems that, like, for example, the actual, wow, my words are escaping me, the actual committee that they are a sub-task force of does suffer. So hopefully we can get in the ear of, like, Representative Garcia, who's the ranking member on the committee, and try and plead with him to make sure that we can get an extension on this. But I will say that it's very promising, the level of support that Representative Luna has from the White House. Like, her connections there are going to be a good thing for the future, I think. And while I may have, like, negative opinions about certain people's politics, what they're doing is good. in this
In
task
terms
force.
of bipartisanship, it was weird to see people just work together on solving something and actually make progress, like measurable, noticeable progress during the day while you're there. It's like, wow, this is actually kind of amazing.
Yeah, I also liked. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. You finish your thought.
I was just going to say that I also really liked the experience of seeing all of the different Congress people speak to David Grush, and the level of like confidence and like rapport that was there was really promising. It shows me that the members of this task force are leaning on the support that they have from David and from the other whistleblowers that are there, and they're listening.
They're listening.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a. The sense that I was getting was that there is a camaraderie and sort of a, I don't know. Esprit de corps might be the.
No, I would say that's the right
But it feels
term.
like they got a little team going on.
Yeah, that's the
and
squad,
it's like
man.
The A team. They're the squad. They squatted up. Sorry, Zane.
Do you
go ahead.
yield? Do you yield?
I yield my time.
So yeah, I just as I want this to carry on for like hours and hours, but yeah, we need to yield time, I'm afraid. We have two questions specifically for you, and also people really.
Toss me my phone.
People,
Sorry, I have an expert that is that has chimed in on one of the questions. I'm sure.
People-
Rob, 7379.
7379 was the number. Okay.
790.
people really also they want to hear more from you. Like already, they're like, "Who is this
Okay.
guy, and how do I hear more of him?"
Well,
But anyway.
I'm on Twitter at Burning Rob. If you ever want to follow me, I have some work that I'm doing in the TV and film realm that is not publicly available yet, so I can't really talk about that. I'm an unemployed loser, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, feel free to do so. I have some work that I'm going to be publishing relatively soon that's investigations into like financial crimes and things of that nature revolving around the legacy program. So
No, you go.
Well, I think you've got the mic. So
I do have the mic. I have the power. You yielded. So yeah, you don't have to answer this question, but it was a paid for comment. So let's give it the respect it deserves. This guy, is a Navy nuclear propulsion engineer. Ask him about Salvatore Pais.
I have a close friend that's met with Salvatore a few times, and I personally like Salvatore. I think that Salvatore probably said too many things in public and is not allowed to talk anymore. And when he does talk, he's probably directed to do other things. That's all I'll really say on Salvatore. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's a patriot. And I have a lot of respect for Salvatore, but I don't think he's gotten the best deal out of all of this when he decided to go public. That's all.
So the Hellfire, Hellcat, Hellfire.
It's the AGM 126 Hellfire.
Hellfire. It's the what now?
It's an AGM air-to-ground missile 126 model Hellfire missile.
Okay, so the question came up a lot basically since it was announced that it was a Hellfire missile.
Yeah. Why
Why didn't it explode?
Okay, so the Hellfire missile uses a proximity fusing system, and I consulted one of my guys who is an actual missile engineer. Some of you guys have probably followed him on Twitter. His name is Missile Man. And he gave me a really excellent answer that I would love to relay to you guys. When I was speaking to him, I know that AGM 126 Hellfire is a proximity fused device. So it has an electromagnetic sensor with a large shaped charge payload that's surrounded by a kinetic sheathing that's designed to give fragmentation, right? So this seeker on the missile is supposed to go off based on electromagnetic returns. The theory that my friend Missile Man had, is that the only thing that he could think of was this, and I'm going to read this verbatim. If a Hellfire missile were to glance off of an exotic craft with a space-time manipulation bubble, the most plausible physics explanations would be that the fuse's electromagnetic signals never return properly. The RF returns get phase shifted or time skewed outside the triggering envelope, or physical impact cues are nullified and not sensed, because it does have a physical sensor as well. So somehow the physical sensor on the missile was nullified, as well as the electromagnetic returns. What that means is when you go into a space-time bubble, we talk about like time dilation, okay? Time dilation is, it's also a dilation of like the radiation that takes place during or in that area. So you're going to have things that are like blue shifted or red shifted, depending on how their phase shifted outside of that. For the non-physics people in the chat, it just means that, you know, we're supposed to sense a return within a certain frequency, and because it was in that bubble, it may have been well outside that frequency range and therefore never went off.
Shifted outside the frequency range.
Right.
They crossed the streams.
Yeah, exactly. Pure Star Trek lingo? I mean, not quite. I mean, if you go back to the work of Miguel Alcubierre, this has very much been in the public sphere for about 25 years. So a space-time bubble is not really that crazy of a thing, I would say.
It would also go a long way to explaining the distortions around the craft, the weird shapes, the shimmering effect, a lot of the visual weirdness around these, right?
I mean,
like
Vallée had a piece that came out at some point, if I'm not mistaken, that like describes like medical effects of like UAP, and it goes into some of the BAS documents that are out there as well talk about this and about the experience range that you would have to be at based on some suppositions that they've made about the technology. Who knows? I don't know what creates a space-time bubble. Obviously, we have so many questions about the technology, but we do know that something is altering that in some of these cases because of the amount of evidence that we have documented from various different sources. I would urge everybody to look around for the new papers that were just released by Dr. Vallée and a few others. Do you guys remember the journal that they released that in? It was one of the major physics journals that they just released that in. But there are a number of papers that were just published with about 40 authors that go into a lot of those UAP effects that they've studied from existing cases that are in the lore. And there's a lot of cases they've gone through, and they've been able to actually get like radioactivity data from like material that's nearby and all sorts of other stuff. So it's good reading if you don't like really grasp all the dumb lingo I'm throwing around. I would highly suggest it. It's a bit dense, but it's good.
Let me ask you, because of your particular set of skills, this seems like a question for you. What do you make of, very recently, Ross started saying the Tic Tac is at least operated by Lockheed Martin, if not manufactured by Lockheed. Do you believe that's the case? And if so, what are your thoughts on that? In terms of engineering.
I don't know who is telling Ross that. I don't.
A little bird.
I don't understand
A source.
how, if Lockheed Martin did possess that technology, given that they are a public-facing company and have a stock price to protect, and everybody inside the company is interested in that, I don't understand how they could. How do I even say this without sounding like an asshole? Somebody's blowing smoke up Ross's ass. And that sounds like somebody trying to put you off the trail, if you had to ask me.
Well, he asked the same question, right? Like, they're shareholders. They are entitled to know, but they're not entitled. Just owning shares in Lockheed doesn't get you classified.
No, not at all.
Briefings. Like, you're not going to get to know all that. You're invested in the company. There's a chance you're going to lose your ass.
There's another side.
You know, they don't
coin,
owe
though.
you. I mean, do they owe the shareholders?
I mean, they technically have a legal fiduciary duty to their shareholders as a publicly traded company.
So if you're a shareholder with a significant amount of shares in Lockheed, and they have a shareholder meeting, and you go, "Hey, do we make these Tic Tacs?"
I mean,
they have to answer you, or if
I don't think they
lie
would have
to
to
you,
answer to you. No.
If you own,
I don't think there's any rules there really, but I think when it comes down to it, like if you were able to prove this in a court of law, that they somehow like evaded fiduciary duty to their shareholders, you might be able to get something out of that. But my first instinct is to say that like that would fall under a national security umbrella, and you probably would never be obligated to act on that. Like
which is the other complaint they had today. They're like, that fucking security umbrella, the national security umbrella, is used for everything. It's their get out of jail free card.
Right. One of the things that I would say is there's a lot of get out of jail free cards.
Yeah.
And most of them revolve around the idea that like you can move things private, you can move things out of the country, you can launder companies' reputations by divesting of the company, changing the name, removing one or two key people, but not really changing anything that you do. And this happens a lot.
Yeah.
That's been one of the main focuses of my research.
We were talking a little bit yesterday and some more today about this idea of this whole disclosure conversation being managed for the purpose of possibly, this is just a guess, we don't know this is true, but being managed for the purpose of achieving amnesty get out of jail free card for these guys in exchange for some limited form of disclosure? What do you think of this idea? Is this something that
I think certain people need amnesty.
you think certain people need amnesty?
Yes, I think that certain leadership shouldn't really get amnesty, like senior people that know everything that's going on and call the shots.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really any amnesty that needs to be given there, because those are the people that have committed crimes against the world.
Yeah.
However, I will say that there are numerous people at the mid and lower levels of like this entire program that absolutely need amnesty from anything they may have been, complicit in as a result.
In order to blow the whistle on what's going on. We are joined now by our good friend Pavel from Psychoactivo, who is in his Doomer Friday shirt. Pavel, how are you, my friend? What is going on, and what did you think about the day?
Good to see you all together, first of all. Hi, Rob.
Hey, what's up, Pavel? How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, well, there's a lot going around from that video that I wanted to ask you guys about, because Burleson was just on News Nation saying that he got the video anonymously, and that really hurts. I think that was kind of reckless to just put it out in the hearing.
Wait, what did he say?
Without knowing where it came
Burleson
from.
specifically stated that he received the video in a form of dead drop.
The video we saw today?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Pavel. I wasn't following.
So for me, that's kind of a problem, because I don't know what the procedure could be for a video like that, and also he spoke to this civilian whistleblower, Michael, and he has videos from Michael that are supposedly way better, according to Burleson himself, than the video that we saw. So I don't know what made him just choose that over that other video that he allegedly has. And there's a lot of chatter now that this is a balloon, that there's like in the replay, it seems like it's kind of soft kind of material.
Yeah.
After it gets hit, and then after it cuts, and then you get the zoom out, there's a cut there. That's important too, because you don't know if that was edited or what happened, so it's tricky. It's like the only complaint that I would have, because I really liked pretty much everything that happened there. I found it really funny when Dan complained about Jaime snoring. He told me as it was happening, and I was like, oh man.
Could you see that on the stream from? No, you couldn't see it.
No.
Good. That's good.
No.
I wonder. We kind of talked about this at the beginning of the show, but this idea of who gave the order to fire on that UAP, and what is the policy on these things, and is there a unified policy across all branches? Is there a method for determining when you shoot at one of these things, and what if they do retaliate? Do we know they'll retaliate? Do we know they won't retaliate?
I can speak a little bit to that, actually.
Please.
So given the time frame that the video was taken in, was this video October in Yemen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like October of 2024 in Yemen. So at that point, it's combat zone.
Yeah.
There are rules of engagement, and if it was identified by multiple drone operators as a potential, like one-way attack drone or something like that, even if they couldn't identify the track, that's means for a shoot down.
So they just shoot it down.
Yeah. You can do that with like a single check to your like superior.
So
basically.
if it's an unknown and it's presenting a threat, and you just deem that
unknown doesn't match any known, flight profiles
Shoot it
or anything
down.
like that, potential threat in a combat zone, potentially moving towards like a battle group or something like
Okay,
that, no,
okay.
you're done. Go.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I guess I'm for some reason my brain is stuck on this idea that these guys at the higher levels in the brass know which ones are UAPs or which ones aren't. Like there's some kind of
That could be
decision
a-
tree that high enough up the decision tree, someone knows what that is.
In that particular case, my guess would be that given the region that it it was in, the environment that that region is in, the fact that it's a combat zone, the fact that we've run more carrier ops there in the last like year or two than we've really ever run in any particular region in that like time density.
Yeah.
It leads me to believe that there was probably a pretty quick decision made. I don't know if you're familiar with like one of the more recent, like there have been a number of incidents where like if something happens out there, you're shooting it down. I mean, shit, we almost shot down 2 of our FA-18 fighters from the USS Gettysburg. They had a friend or foe identifier issue where they shot interceptor missiles at 2 different FA-18s, and one of them went down. Guy had to eject.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that was recently.
Wow. So okay, well that makes sense to me then. I guess I'm just wondering at the end of the day, is there a unified policy at a high enough level on like when we encounter these craft?
That's so nuanced because like you would also have to depend on the person who sees that to think that it's a UAP, right?
To know
like
what it is,
instead of like maybe like a sensor error or just like, you know, bad glare or like, you know, oh, it's putting off weird heat or something like that.
I think that's that is the most unsettling part about all this is that it doesn't seem like the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, and there's this thing out there that's operating, and there's a very, very, very small group of unaccountable people. Pavel, we looked at the video in terms of what else was said today. Was there any other statement that jumped out at you?
I wanted to ask the panel if George Knapp mentioning people like Jim Lukatsky or Robert Bigelow gives it an opening to for them to get subpoenaed or even asked to testify in Congress at the next hearing. Because after this hearing, I really had low expectations, to be honest with you, but now I'm a little bit more pumped because it really went way better than the last one. So what do you guys think could happen there? And Stratton too, they didn't mention him, but I think he should testify as well.
What do you think? I'm just was kind of surprised that he did it when George Knapp dropped Glenn Gaffney's name. They're like, give me a name.
I mean,
Glenn Gaffney, go get him.
He's been talked about for a long time. So
Jeremy gave him the name.
Jeremy?
Because Knapp knew, but he just couldn't remember it.
So so Jeremy whispered that to. We just got a piece of behind the scenes. Oh, I didn't know
saw
that.
that happen in real time.
when he said it,
Jeremy. All right, that was great, Glenn Gaffney.
when he said it, there's a take from the side when George says the name, and Matthew Brown is like, "Yeah, that was cool."
Yeah, Google Glenn Gaffney, guys, if you don't know who he is. So what is next? And we're kind of wrapping it up here, and we're gonna wind it down. I think everybody hasn't slept in 2 days and pretty tired. So what's next? What do you guys think? What's the next step here?
Well, you mentioned Lukatsky, right? I don't think that they'll subpoena James Lukatsky. And here's why. He likely has NDAs that require him to lie.
Yeah.
He's indicated, if I'm not mistaken, that he would lie under oath.
Yes, he had.
And that was on weaponized, wasn't it?
It was on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's indicated that he would lie under oath by virtue of the NDAs that he signed. So I don't believe that they will attempt to subpoena Lukatsky, because I think David knows that full well.
Does
and
an
so
NDA is it like paper, rock, scissors? You've got an NDA beats oath.
For special
I think-
access programs, there's some pretty serious NDAs that really limit your disclosure.
But
I would say-
if the program is unaccountable, it has no congressional oversight, can that program issue a legally binding?
Careers, unless otherwise directed NDAs are nonsense. Those NDAs are still binding. And there's also such thing as
There's also corporate NDAs too, and those can be have extremely severe penalties. So any program,
fallback terms.
yes. So any program that's the vast majority of locations, materials are held outside of any sort of DoD or IC facility. Those corporate sorts of NDAs can be ruthless, and that's what can completely destroy your life. And it doesn't matter if you're subpoenaed and you talk to the correctly cleared people, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So if you're subpoenaed and you lie, you're screwed. If
Yes,
you tell
also-
the truth, you're screwed.
Yeah, you can deny subpoena as well with USAP. I know a ton of people who, if they were ever subpoenaed, they're going to just say, no, I refuse to speak.
Is there no mechanism like an internal affairs like group that is like above all of this that can
No.
just police any? There's no policing of any of this.
No.
So that's why, okay, this is why we don't have nice things. We
Yeah.
can't afford anything in this country. No
This is
health
why
care.
it needs to be an admin issue.
I have a question about that though. Is
Yeah.
full immunity actionable here? Like, does that overshadow whatever NDAs were signed? Full immunity or no?
Theoretically, I think it could.
What do you say?
If you were granted full immunity somehow,
From the executive,
it would have
pretty
it
much.
would have to be from like the most senior authority.
Against whistleblower
Yeah.
retaliation, but not corporate wet works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, what whistleblower protection is there against a bullet other than
They
you know,
just
armed
sending-
security?
Yeah.
Like,
and how
it's-
long are you gonna?
The
live
question is
looking
not
over your
really
shoulder?
like. I feel like Lukatsky would be, and people like Lukatsky who would testify and then would choose not to testify or would lie under oath. Like, the thing that's more powerful than all that is a gun to the head.
Yeah.
And also things like, if you know anything about like employee stock ownership programs, like there's a thing called clawback terms that are a thing. So if somebody is paid through like an ESOP, an employee stock ownership program, sometimes there are terms where if you violate like an NDA, they can claw back all of your earnings in the past too. So like say you have like vested stocks or something like that.
Yeah.
All the shit that you earned throughout your entire career with them, they can take back. Even if like you were to say it like on your deathbed or something. And so that's like shit that could affect your family, like your heirs, like everybody. So like when we talk about like the golden handcuff, it's a golden handcuff that goes to the grave in some cases. It's not always that way with all of these like arrangements with certain employees, but that's certainly something that's been raised in circles that I've talked to.
Pavel, what about you? After today, what's it going to take to move the needle a little further? What's the next thing? I feel like we got more than we expected today. What's your take?
If I'm honest with you, I think because the Senate already saw everything, they have all the information. Another hearing would work, I think, but if they don't have full immunity, I don't think it would work. That's just my feeling. I think that what people need to do, and people, I think Americans, just civilians, call their politicians and ask them to release everything and just like stay on them every day, a couple of calls a day. And this is what people, I think, this is what would work. And I think it's what needs to be done because Congress can only do so much. Luna and Burleson don't really have that kind of power. And the Senate seems like they don't want to share anything. Many of them, because they're protecting national security. Yeah, I get that. But still, I think that the people have the power. And if they realize the power they have by just picking up the phone, things can change, I think.
That is a great place to leave it. That is such a positive.
Everybody else thinks. What's next?
Who else anybody else want to jump in? Anybody?
I think everyone wants to.
You
What's
want to? Let's see. How do you want to pass point the camera around, or are we just going to pass the mic around?
Yeah, I'm going to point the camera.
Oh, you're going to point the camera around.
Pass
Okay,
the
we'll
mic
take your
around.
mic and we'll pass it. Do you want to go to Dan first? And then,
Here, Dan. What's going on here?
all right, Dan. Come on.
Tattoo
over.
man.
Last thoughts.
What's
Final
up,
thoughts.
buddy?
Jerry Springer.
For me, I'm very thrilled with today. I think for the next hearing, I would like to start talking about people who have sustained injuries due to proximity of craft or people that have been kind of left behind
Yeah.
by their country or countries or whatever, and just keep doing more of these. It seems to be working slowly, but it seems to be working.
What would you look for? What would the next, if there's another hearing, what would have to happen to raise the bar or to move the needle?
The same thing we've wanted on the last hearing and this one is actual firsthand. I touched the thing, I touched the guys, whatever. We would like actual first-handers that can talk about it.
Right.
Because I think we've heard from first-handers.
I feel like that's what
We have.
Burleson kind of said today. He was like, we've kind of like covered this now. Now we need to really go get them. We need to figure out like what
We have since the first hearing.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like now we can say we really went thoroughly, you know.
First-handers talking about it openly
Yeah.
in some safe and legal way would be powerful for the topic and for the general public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No?
Xander.
Me, what's next?
Xander?
Come on.
This is here. I'm jumping out for a second.
No, everyone leaves everyone, okay, I'll just, yeah.
There you go. I just have to stand up and stretch my legs.
So, I'm going to approach this from an international. I'm the international rep
of mystery.
now for ufology. For me, I can't speak for the US. The US is going to do what the US does best, which is whatever the fuck they want. War. I really want to push this outside of the US. For me personally, after spending a few days here, after I've been on tour in Washington, I want to push the conversation forwards in places where it just simply doesn't exist. I have friends in the UK that show interest, and I'm thrilled that it was live streamed today on the BBC. That was huge. That for me is an indicator that perhaps now is a good time for me to just start knocking on some doors back in the UK. And I think it's probably going to be quite an easy thing to do because simply nobody is really doing it yet. So that's what's next for me, is to reevaluate like what this week means to me, and then how can I move forward in a safe way as well. Like that's going to be important. But it's time for the rest of the world to actually get in on this action, I think, as well.
We did a viewer poll a little while ago. We had 199 votes in, and the question was, did today's UAP hearing move the needle for you? And 57% of you said yes, it did. And 19% said no. 23% said meh. So that's kind of where we're at. Guys, I'm running on like fumes today, so I'm sorry. We're not as creative.
I was going to tell you, Xander, if you want to be the man on the ground in England, start looking at what U.S. defense contractors use DISCs, Domestic International Sales Corps in England.
Let me write that down.
Start looking at SAIC England. Start looking at Lockheed Martin manufacturing plants in England, and start looking at BAE Systems, RDT&E facilities in England. And that would probably be a good jumping off point. One thing to
where can I sign up for your class? Like, is there a way? Can you do a class?
Rainman.edu.
The one thing I'd say is, of course, there's awesome to hear about Ryder, Gaffney, the OSAP failed transfer to Bigelow Aerospace. Please, everybody who's watching, remember that was 2 separate divestments of materials. There was one attempt in 2009 and one attempt in 2011 with Kona Blue. Kona Blue was the DHS PSAP, or Prospective Special Access Program, that was shot down with by Glenn Gaffney, others involved. Rob's got some stuff to say on that in the future. And I've got some stuff to say on that in the future as well, because there's another pretty rank Lockheed VP that had a hand in such an operation. But remember, that was a real 2-time thing, not just one. I think the 2009 incident was shot down by maybe Clapper as well. I think Aero actually discussed that in their historical report, Volume 1. Yeah, they talk about a 2009 material transfer from an unnamed contractor. So whenever they say unnamed contractor in there, it's always Lockheed. But also
the nudge to me, like, oh sure, I'll just take that to the bank. I know what to do with that.
But here's the thing. In the coming weeks, everybody's going to be buzzing about Lockheed. Lockheed has its piece of the pie, but please do not forget Northrop Grumman. Do not forget SAIC. Do not forget BAE Systems. Do not forget Raytheon. Do not forget General Dynamics. And for the love of God, do not forget the FFRDC. Do not forget MITRE. And I will say that now. I'll say that again. I'll say that a couple weeks from now. Do not forget MITRE. Do not forget the Los Alamos. Do not forget the Sandy National Labs. Do not forget the Center for Naval Analyses, the National Security Engineering Center, any of these, okay?
I've already forgotten about
Yeah, come on, man. But don't narrow in too much on Lockheed. Lockheed's a piece of the pie, but it's not all there is. There's plenty more to explore. Plenty of minds need to go to it.
All right, guys, you have your homework. So
yeah, do your homework.
There you go.
Follow the money.
And sign up for Gerb's masterclass, which starts in.
Get familiar with what
October.
IRAD was. Back in 2023, Dave Grush talks about IRAD as a system to fund programs with misappropriation of funds. I think that went over a lot of people's head. IRAD is essentially, there's multiple types of IRAD, but corporations being able to do what they want that they consider a national security interest of the DoD, and then at the end of a fiscal year, bill the DoD for it. So they could be strapping Hellfire missiles to squirrels, and if they think that the DoD can get some action out of that, they can just bill the DoD for however much they want. 2021 alone, Lockheed Martin spent $1.2 billion on IRAD. So
You mentioned OTH too. Other Transaction Authority,
Oh,
OTA.
jeez. There's
We don't have time.
any, yeah,
guys. We gotta
any
wrap
sort
it up.
of transaction
Less than
method.
24 hours.
This guy's-
If you're looking at the contractors, stay wise to the corporate portfolio program enacted by Ellen Lord in 2021, who went on to serve on the board of SAIC, who gives defense industrial based contractors better access to DoD special access program personnel, scientists, FFRDCs, UARCs, and all that. And if you've watched one of my videos, you know what I'm talking about.
Not to mention with OTA, other transaction authority transactions, it allows people in the corporate portfolio program to basically receive contracts up to $500 million per contract with no approval authority whatsoever other than the program director.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you're
And you
looking
know
at
what's fucked up?
and if you're
they
looking
cut
at
school lunches for poor kids,
And if-
because there's not enough money.
and if you're looking at DoD actual authorized funds, look for non-TOA or non-transfer of authority funds. Almost impossible to track, but they're there, especially in the various departments of the military, specifically the Department of, Air Force and Navy. So
If you think UFOs don't affect you, then ask yourself why we can't have fucking nice things. And this is how it does affect you, because all that money is going to these people to do whatever the fuck it is that they do. All right, guys, we're gonna call it a night.
finish on a Clint monologue.
The rant. I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out with us, and this was awesome. We're gonna wrap it up here. I think Xander's got a flight tomorrow, and it's been a long day, so we're gonna call it for now. But leave us a message in the chat, or leave us a message on the video. You can give us a like on the chat. That always helps. You can go to teamnightshift.com. You can check out our cool stuff. You can also sign up for our newsletter. What else can you do? You can do all kinds of things. But whatever you
enough.
do, you just take care of yourselves and each other. That's it. That's all I got. And thank you for the GoFundMe, which we are still gonna. There's more to come on all of this stuff, but this is just, we wanted to get out a quick live stream on the day of to wrap it up and sort of explain what happened from our perspective. So that was
Alongside all of the live streams and the shorts and stuff, you may have noticed we've been on a decent camera today. It's a GoPro. I've filmed everything in 4K from 4 hours waiting in line in dawn to walking into the hearing room, and the disappointment of thinking I wasn't going to get in there. Like, it's all captured. So over the next,
It was.
yeah, I captured everything today. So yeah, over the next week or so, I'm sorry, I'm going to have jet lag over the next couple of days. I'm not going to be around, but yeah, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to start putting some stuff together. But I think it's easy to say none of it would have been possible, really, without the support of
Not at all.
all of these guys.
Not at all. So thank you to everyone who supported the GoFundMe for making this possible. We will have more to say to you guys soon, but right now I think it's time for us to wrap it up and get some rest, and we'll check back in with you later on. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Until then.